Hey, it's Jill the health coach, and today we're going to talk about fatty liver disease. Now, many of you think that fatty liver just comes from drinking alcohol, but non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD, is actually really ramping up speed in our population, sadly. As a matter of fact, 30% of our population currently has NAFLD, fatty liver, and of the obese population, 70% of those people all have fatty liver. So it's becoming a really big thing. What is a fatty liver to begin with? Well, there's a lot of fat in your liver, but what does that mean? It means that your liver now becomes toxic because of all that fat. Now, how do you get the fat? You get the fat really because if you're eating too much sugar, like high fructose corn syrup, or things that break down into sugar, like grains and corn and any type of thing, any type of starch, the liver actually converts that sugar right into fat. And that fat clogs up the liver, which means that, first of all, when food kind of filters through, the toxins get stuck in that fat. And then second of all, the liver cannot perform the functions that it normally does, such as produce hormones, such as produce bile, which helps escort toxins out. We're going to discuss that in a minute and how important that is. And all of these functions that the liver is responsible for, and it actually affects all the other organs in your body as well. What are some symptoms of fatty liver? Unfortunately, sometimes you get no symptoms at all, which really stinks. But a lot of times you will find that some common symptoms are fatigue, which could be so many different things, could be dark urine, could be headaches over your eyes. You could also have pain in your abdomen on the right side. Also, you could have pain in your shoulder blades. Those are common. And what you're going to notice is, and we're going to go through this in a second, that guess what? Some of these symptoms and even more are indicative of sluggish bile, which of course, if your liver is all clogged up, it cannot produce bile. Bile is super important. And it actually oftentimes is the root cause of so many of our symptoms that we just don't even realize. So bile is produced in the liver, and what it does is two major functions. It helps break down fat into itty bitty pieces so it can be actually absorbed into your cells. And we need fat, we need it for lubrication, we need it to move things around so it helps avoid constipation, and we do need it to absorb specific vitamins that are fat soluble, otherwise we will not be able to absorb them. So it's super important to break down the fat. If we can't break down the fat, then that is what kind of clogs up the liver as well. And then what it also does is it escorts toxins out of the body. So it's super important. You know, we get toxins all day from our environment or from our food or whatever, but our bodies are very specifically designed to be able to carry out the toxins when we get them in. So that's what bile does. So the more bile you have, the more toxins can come out. But when we don't have a lot, and then it becomes clogged up with the toxins and gets sludgy and slow, that's when the problems start to happen. So that's why bile is so important. So how do we clean up the liver and help it produce more biles? We found out how important it is. Well, we need to cut it some slack. So we need to get rid of the things that cause the fatty liver to begin with. And so much of that is sugars. So where the sugars come from, high fructose corn syrup is a huge culprit. Ditch it. Ditch the processed foods that all break down into sugar. Other things such as grains, ditch that gluten. There's nothing good about gluten products. So try to avoid the wheat and just try to eat less of starches that will in turn break down into sugar, such as corn and other types of grains, and even dairy. Dairy will break down into sugar. So try to avoid those. Other foods to avoid are eggs, pork, and onions. Eggs, I tell you, it's weird. They're the biggest game changer in my practice when people have given up eggs, and that's when they finally saw real results in their health. Onions, they're irritating to the gallbladder, and pork, because pork is actually from a very dirty animal. You know, pigs do not sweat. So when they don't sweat, they're holding in their toxins. So that's why you don't want to add any more toxic burden to your body. So don't eat pork, or at least at the very least, give up these 3 foods for a month. So in terms of what you will eat every day, you want to start every day off with a large 16-ounce glass of water every single morning as soon as you wake up, preferably with the juice of half a lemon in it. That will help clean out your liver. And then at each meal, you want to have a protein and fruits and vegetables. So you're going to crowd out that need for any of the starches or dairy anyway. So, and the fruit, the sugar in a fruit, that's a good sugar, so that will not contribute to fatty liver. And then also I want you to introduce bitters into your life. Bitter foods are really, really important because it helps stimulate the production of bile, and it also helps stimulate the production of stomach acid, which you need to break down your food. So it is so good for you, and it will help you eliminate any of your sweets cravings. So it's awesome in that way as well. So what are certain types of bitters? There's horseradish, the obvious ones. There's beets. There's also watercress, arugula, endive, radicchio. You can also find bitters in, believe it or not, asparagus. A type of bitter in terms of fruit is grapefruit. Of course, you've got your lemons and limes, and those are really, really great bitters that you should take advantage of. But, you can also get your bitters with broccoli and cabbage and even cucumbers, jicama. Radishes are awesome. How about spinach? How about even eggplant, Japanese eggplant, kale, romaine lettuce, Swiss chard, turnips? You can find bitters everywhere. So please take advantage of those, and that will really help clean out your liver. In addition to adding bitters at least once a day, and preferably 3 times a day at every meal if you can, I also do encourage intermittent fasting. And what that is, it's kind of like giving your body and your liver a break from digesting food and breaking things down. And that way it gives your body a little more healing time. There's different ways to do it. A common way is to have a block of time where you're not going to eat anything, for example, from after dinner until the next day. This could range in time from 12 to 16 hours. So many people will, after dinner, stop eating, 7:30, and then they'll go straight until lunchtime and just skip breakfast. Now, if you have coffee or tea, that does not interfere with the fasting at all. It's only when you start eating real food. But it's a great trick to give your liver some slack so you can ramp up that healing. There's also some supplementation that I do recommend that will help speed up the process as well. One thing that I found is choline. Choline is I find very deficient in people that do have fatty liver. So we recommend you having 500 milligrams at every single meal, and that will stimulate the production of bile. And another one is if you can't get bitters at every single meal, do it in supplement form. That's fine. One that I really like is the bitters called Dr. Shade's number 9. You can buy that on Amazon. Oh, and also the choline. I really like this whole supplement form. It's called Bile Builder, and that has choline in it and a few others that are super, super helpful for fatty liver. So that one's called Bile Builder, and you can get that from Unikey, Unikey, and you just have to go to their website because you won't find that on Amazon. To wrap it up, ditch those things that cause your fatty liver to begin with. Give up those processed foods and all those starches and the sugars, the high fructose corn syrup, and make sure you have some protein, fruits and vegetables at every single meal, and be sure to introduce your bitters. And of course, before you try any new regimens, always check with your doctor first. So for other YouTube videos, check out my YouTube channel at Jill the Health Coach.